welcome everybody to our interview series, GratefulOM's interview series. I am going to do one thing for you before we even get started. I want to put Lori Kirstein, I always pronounce it incorrectly.
Kirstein.
Yeah, I want to put her contact information in the Facebook Live comments here, so you'll be able to contact her after we talk today. I know you will, so I want to welcome you to GratefulOM's interview series. And you know, we're focusing this quarter on self-care. And so what I am doing in this quarter is bringing awesome, badass women to you that are going to be able to give you what you need, give you a little bit of a boost, give you another way of thinking that's going to allow you to be supported in creating the best life for yourself. So today I'm talking with Lori Kirstein, and I've met her and just immediately we became just connected and friends and have a lot of same views on what the world needs now is love, sweet love. So she is a woman who simultaneously teaches you how to claim your voice and to live both your life and your work on your terms. So how many times have you asked yourself, it shouldn't have to be like this. I need to be able to do this in my terms. So Lori Kirstein of the Goodbye Girl Project classifies herself.
Goodbye, good girl.
Goodbye, good girl. Oh, that's different. Goodbye, good girl. Now, what does that say? Anyway, so thanks for the correction there. And I've caught that before and thought that was so cool because so many of us are caught up in being the good girl, even to our detriment. So Lori classifies herself as an Empowerment Doulah, social systems consultant, social shoulds disruptor, right? Disruptor and Regenerative Work Systems Consultant. She is the author of The Human Solution, the Non-Negotiable X Factor of Next Gen Business Systems, and Call Center Crazy when customer and support collide, and Mother Love, Embracing the Wound, Tempering the Steel. She spent 30 years in corporations, after which she became an entrepreneur and professional rule breaker to invite in the new paradigms of feminine empowerment and visibility, and the long overdue humanization of work systems. So what we are going to, Lori, I just want to give you a few minutes to did I miss anything?
God, no, that was brilliant. That was absolutely brilliant. That was great. That was great. Yeah, I'm really, when I say I'm a disruptor, if that panics anybody, if people go, oh dear God, you're going to like break my norms. It's not that I'm going to do anything. What I teach is I teach how other people can question the things that keep them captive so that they can go, oh, look, prison bars. And they can go, I think I'll exit stage left. And they can exit stage left. It's the hard work is seeing it. And then the next step is to practice the opposite. And then you're on your way as long as you keep doing that work.
Yeah. So what we'll be talking about today, the title of our talk today is The Power and Loving Kindness of Your Authentic Emotions. So particularly when we're talking about that, we're talking about the damage that is done when we don't have the ability to name our emotions. And I would even say, and I'm personally working on this, allowing myself to feel my emotions. And so when we don't have the ability to name our emotions, to express our emotions, and to walk a path of blossoming as the emotional human beings that we are, So many of us are closed up. Our humanity is always expressed through emotion, and our ability to communicate with one another has an open door that she's found to be, and I agree totally, this is something that I've found too, most reliable. You know, whenever you lead with your authenticity, whenever you lead with your truth, it really sets up the stage for the best possible outcome, the doorway of shared emotion. Because if we're not being authentic, we cannot connect with our authentic selves because we're not accessing it. But again, build a bridge there, and you can communicate with almost anyone. So before we get started, I want to make sure that we mention your Powerful Women's Leadership Group and your group and individual coaching for rebellious women, redefining the feminine face of leadership. That sounds like I want to put my cape on. What's up? Tell me about that.
Please do. And also your crown.
My crown is never far, right?
No, you need to put the crown on. There it is, right there. Yeah. I've been in a lot of business programs. I think we've all been in a lot of business programs.
Yeah.
And I have a real problem with business programs at this point. I have a lot of problems with most of them because the ones that I have been introduced to anyway, have been the ones that say, here's one path and you can do that path and then you'll be fine. And that's a one size fits all. That's not how we're built. Human beings are not built that way. And women who are closer to the emotional body just by socialization than men are, we're going to even struggle more. So the work that I do with women is both personal growth and business, so we don't miss the emotional and personal growth. I agree with you. There's absolutely no way for us to be real. There's no way for us to put our feet on the ground unless we are in touch with our emotions and we are comfortable with that process. This is something never taught, right? Nobody teaches it. We're taught be appropriate, be nice, be pretty, be smart. Things that are like, what? It's all in the eye of the beholder or something like that. And we need to have something more solid, and that's us. And because we're humans, emotion.
Right. And one of the things that we are aware of and that I've experienced myself is that it was a matter of survival in the paradigm, in the corporation, in many of the spaces that I participated in. It was a matter of survival to not present your authentic feelings and so really with this the change to the divine feminine, this is going to be a skill that is going to make us be able to walk with our head high, walk with our true, authentic, and awesome and beautiful selves anywhere we go, right? So, and I can see where these programs would lead you away from that survival mode into connecting with your true self and the thriving mode. So I just wanted to ask you a question. So when we're looking at, one of the things that I just mentioned is that being disconnected from the emotion and from your feelings has been a means of survival for people, women, for many, many years. I mean, even, staying quiet and being small. So then it's kind of counterintuitive. How do you connect expressing your true emotion with empowerment?
Oh boy, I love big questions, and that's one of them. That's huge. In fact, you're going to probably have to help me keep track of what I'm about, of where I'm coming from with your question. So the question is, it sounds like a two-parter. How do we get to tell me if I'm right. How do we get to the emotion? How do we stand in it in empowerment?
Right.
Is that it? Okay. So like there are probably people listening who are going to go, I'm very aware that I'm depressed. What are you talking about? You know, or I'm very aware that I'm pissed off, or I'm very aware that I'm unhappy. But to really dive down into emotions, let me tell you a story. My mother got sick with cancer when I was 11, and she died when I was 21. And I went back to school and I tried to live my life. And long story short, the tamping down of what felt like a destructive force, which was actually a healing force, but it felt like if I let these emotions out, that I would absolutely level cities. And I had to just keep going. I had to persevere. Because that's my particular personality type. But years later, I had a nervous breakdown. And I thank God for it now, because it got me out of a prison of survival, so that I could get to know me and become more capable of bigger things and bigger ways of living, and being able to reach out more. I mean, it completely it started the redefinition of my life, which has continued since. And so, in order to really look at emotions, we can't just look at the surface, because that's just the surface. We have layers of emotions, and they're actually yummy. And they actually give us all kinds of beautiful information about who we truly are, if we can just employ loving kindness with ourselves. That's the big key to how do we use our emotions for empowerment. We've got to start there, because we women especially, we're used to beating the heck out of ourselves. We're taught to do that. You're not young enough, thin enough, pretty enough, white enough, whatever it is. You're not enough. And it's not, we didn't make that stuff up. That's our culture. And we take it in and we go, well, let me just counteract that. Well, it's like fighting ghosts. So instead, if we come into alignment with our emotions, we start exploring, we find ways of doing that, which can there's so many ways. There's emotional freedom technique, there's inner child work, there's traditional therapy, there's drumming. I mean, we have such a wide array, right? Then we become richer people.
There's meditation.
There's meditation.
And I can really relate to that, because like I said, I've been on that journey myself. And if you would have told me, everybody always told me that I was too emotional, that I was too, oh, you're too sensitive, you're too this. And you know what? There were two emotions that I was accessing. It felt like I was either angry, or I was either angry, or I was, what was the other one? Offended, or, and so I found in my journey that I got additional power. They didn't want me, and so I kept trying to damp down my emotions, not be angry, not be, not feel offended, not this. And then I got to the place where there were no emotions. Well, then I came to the realization that, nope, that's not the way to do it, because you're not going to get the connection and the authenticity of relationships that you want. So my journey since that realization has been to really allow my full range of emotions to come, and to be able to connect with my emotions in the way that serve me best. So when we're looking at that range of emotions and being emotionally savvy, how do you feel like that connects to self-care?
Kind of depends on what you want. Do you want to feel better?
Yeah.
I mean, I can't think of anybody, who maybe isn't in the throes of deep depression. But I mean, most of us want to we want to feel better. We don't really want to beat up on ourselves. Loving, self-care means that you actually, I mean, it's very literal. You care about yourself. Not take it on like it's another course in school. I'm going to do this self-care right, and then I'm going to feel better. No. The point is that you soften. You're taking care of yourself by treating yourself like a loved one. And there's no greater self-care, and that is because it not only changes the nature of your life, of your approaches, of your decisions, and of your body, how you feel, but then that spills over into your relationships. Mm-hmm. So that just touches absolutely everything. That is the primary self-care. You can take the soap, the pretty soaps that I love to smell, you can put them to one side. They're not going to help you unless you're willing to take that scent into your hands and let it bathe you, let it nurture you. You have to find ways to let yourself be nurtured by you, which is a really challenging thing in our culture.
It really is, because we're told not to take the time on that. We're told to think about everybody else, but we have been conditioned to do this. And really, when I look at self-care now, I do look at the 6 pillars of health. Mm-hmm. When I'm thinking about self-care, and so massage and good nutrition and sleep are some of the things too, but healthy emotions is something that really you can have. I mean, you've seen billionaires that don't have healthy emotions, and they have everything you can imagine that they want, but they don't have that inner peace. And they don't have that inner loving. They have that inner loathing that makes anything that they have, do, or participate in, not to give them, satisfaction, right?
Right. But I do want to mention, just following up on what you're saying, I don't want to misguide people to say that because I have access to my emotions, that I now have inner peace. What I have is, I have allowing, and I have acceptance of what happens as a result of my emotional reactions. So now I have emotional reactions, but I also have the time and the space and the care I give myself before I need to respond.
Okay.
Now, that doesn't mean I have one more opportunity to shut myself down here and be appropriate here. That's not what I'm talking about.
Okay.
I made the choice. It's a very expensive choice, but I made the choice a long time ago that even in corporate America, I was going to just be me. And that I was going to redefine what it meant to be authentic within a corporate structure. So I told my truth, and I learned to couch it in terms that were meant to be inclusive. But the problem was that corporations, they just wanted to do the control thing, the ones that I was in. So I was not being controllable. I was not being cookie cutter. So I'm arm
in arm with you, sister.
Arm in arm. Yeah, but
experience.
And it cost me in terms of job satisfaction. It cost me in terms of some outright abuse. I'm not talking sexual abuse, but outright abuse from people. But I still count it as worth it. For me, I am not, prescribing this for others to that particular degree necessarily, but it was worth it to me to become all of me.
Yeah. I had the exact same experience. One day it was like, I'm done. I'm just done. And thank God. I mean, it was, something, again, I always tell people to even be grateful for the stinky stuff, but it was not fun. It was not a peaceful transition. It was hard, but I am so grateful for that stinky thing that led me to, and I do believe inner peace. I do. I believe that the inner peace comes from acting in a way that is loving towards yourself and authentic. And I used to, operate in a way that wasn't necessarily authentic. And I would spend hours recapitulating and saying, did I do this? Or what did they think? Or da, 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 da. And now, because I am operating from a place where I'm taking care of myself, I don't have to go through all of that drama. So,
You've got self-acceptance.
Yeah, exactly. And so I guess, and one of the things that, that made me choose during that time when I was, and I've been working in corporations since I was 16. And I'm not going to tell you how many years that is because that'll give you a clue. But, one of the things that caused me to kind of shut down and to internalize a lot of this stuff is because I was afraid to get in touch with my deeper emotions. I was either afraid that I was going to go down a rabbit hole of no return and, crawl up in a ball in a corner somewhere if I let my feelings flow. Right. Or, going off on people. I learned very soon. I love words. I took Latin in junior high school. Me too. Words. I love words. I just, it can just pick that word out of the air that will leave somebody undressed and bleeding. I mean, I just get scared woman. Powerful words. And, and so I was always afraid that I was going to go off on somebody. And, so when you're in the workplace, what did you do to get your emotional savvy on when you're actually still in it? Because, for me, I had to say, adios, this is not happening. This is not aligning with who I know to be my true self. But not everybody has that ability to just, peace out, What advice would you give others to make where they are right now more, I would say more bearable or more, allowing themselves to even thrive in spite of being in the middle of this, paradigm?
Yeah, that's a beautiful question. There are a number of different answers, of course, depending on where you are in your life. I mean, if you're in your 20s and 30s, you are more heavily mired in the I've got to follow the rules kind of thing than when you're in your 50s or 60s. At that point, you're sort of going, I don't care anymore. But the first thing I would say is make sure that you have somebody that you truly can trust. Find a buddy at work that you can truly trust. And that you feel safe and they feel safe to discuss emotional reactions with, so that you can start to learn to let off steam, start to learn to get input from others and give input about how was this thing said? How did it sound when I said it? Does that sound attacking? Here's what I want to say to my boss. Can I say that? So I'll give you a great example. I was in therapy in my early 30s and I was having trouble with the boss, unsurprisingly. And, and I said to my therapist, I'm like, oh, I can't stand her. I just want to tell her to F off. And my therapist looked at me very calmly and with a little smile on her face, she said, well, I'm not sure you'd want to really phrase it that way. But she
Why
said,
not?
I can't imagine. But she said, and the thing was, my boss kept wanting me to do her work.
Right.
And I didn't know how to say no. I got all caught up inside in that I want to tell her to F up, I can't tell her to F up. And there was no middle ground. I couldn't find the middle ground. It was either say something or shut up, say something or shut up. There's always gray area, and that's what you're looking for. How do I say this thing without burning my own ship? Right? So what my therapist said to me about that was, why don't you tell her, oh, I'm so sorry. I really can't help you with that today. I'm really swamped. Or I can't help you with that because you wanted me to do all these things and I'd really like to get them done. Mm-hmm. So it's a lot of the stuff that I teach, that I go into in the ways that I teach, because it's very multi-layered, but basically find somebody you can trust who can help keep you out of trouble while you're also speaking your truth.
And one thing that I want to mention too, we're almost out of time, so I'm going to give you a little bit of time to put in what, make sure that you get what you want to get said. But one thing that I am saying, Lori and I both said, peace out, adios. This is not my journey. This is not what I want to do. And, you know, for me, it was heartbreaking. It was horrible because I really believed in the company that I was with. I really believed in the people that I was working with. And it was not necessarily the outcome that I would have preferred. Howsoever, one thing that I feel very strongly about is you don't need to wait until there's some kind of, you know, spark or some kind of event or some kind of whatever. One of the things that I've learned to do is I've learned to make decisions that best support me. So when I went to Oprah's Live Your Best Life tour in Atlanta a few years ago, what I learned was that I get to make decisions about my life. If you're not digging it, you know what? You're not wearing cement boots, you can move. But do it in a way that supports your life, that supports your needs. I wouldn't walk into my boss today and say, you know what, you suck, I quit. You know, maybe I would start checking out some other jobs. Maybe I would start doing some intention setting. What do I want to be? What do I want my work life to be? And then, you know, maybe even looking at what, you know, some companies or some vocations that's going to support that. Just because you've made a decision, it doesn't mean that it can't be changed. And you always are invited to make a change that makes your life better. So I end with that. And this is kind of one of the things that I love about Lori is she is able to, through her programs, she's able to give you access to that because you don't know what you don't know, right? And so when you experience it or you even just know, I mean, that thing I was like, when, who was it, Oprah or Deepak Chopra? I really love Deepak Chopra. When he said, you are the captain of your own ship, I was like, I was like, what? You know, oh my God. And, you know, then I started thinking about who was making the decisions in my life. And a lot of them weren't me. So I do want to make that, to really share that with you. And Lori, let's end it with you.
Well, I'm loving everything you're saying. And, you know, everything that I do really is at core, it's about unfolding your consciousness in your time, in your way. So, you know, that oh my God, that oh my God moment that we get from time to time where we go, I just never saw it that way, or I never thought about it, or I can do that. Those moments, that's when our consciousness is opening, and we should not take those moments for granted. They're very not only emotional, but they're so systemic for us as humans. It's mind, body, heart, all together in one moment going, oh, you know, like the angels are singing, I see something, I'm freer than I was a second ago.
Where did those wings come from?
Oh my God, right. And they're really pretty. I like them. I'll test those every day. Yeah, so don't take the small changes for granted. The growth of the emotional body, as I like to call it, it's a lifelong blessing, and it doesn't start by feeling that way. It just doesn't start by feeling that way. It feels like a massive challenge. It feels like you're going to fall down a rabbit hole. You're going to be the ugliest, emotionally ugliest person that has ever lived, ever. It starts like that. So if I could tell you anything, it's just that you are not the first. You are far from the last. And finding places and people that will encourage you to explore it without making it your stopping place. Emotions are like a river. We don't want to just get in one place and then just go, I'm staying here. Mm-hmm. We're looking for the vibrancy of being full human beings, full empowered women. Because we're here, in my opinion, we're here to model that for the world.
Absolutely. Oh boy. Thank you. Thank you so much, Lori. I'm so grateful for you. I'm grateful to call you friend. And thank you for coming on here. And y'all, you start your journey. Get with Lori. I put the contact information in the Facebook page, and we'll see where we can go from here. There is nowhere to go but forward.
More. Thank you,
Thank
Deborah. I
you.
love you. Mwah.